We continue to follow a major story that has gripped the nation. I wanted to share this post from the New York Police Department sharing new photos of a person of interest wanted in questioning surrounding the homicide that happened in Midtown Manhattan on December 4th. The gunman who killed the CEO of the largest U.S. health insurer likely left New York City on a bus soon after the ambush that really has shaken corporate America. So this is a new photo of the person of interest that they're hoping to question. They issued that just a short time ago, so I did want to share that with you. Meanwhile, this is some surveillance photos of that person of interest as police are still searching for the suspect. This is 5 days after the shooting of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Police still not knowing the gunman's name or whereabouts or neither a motive for the killing. That's according to the chief of detectives, Joseph Kenney, telling reporters earlier. Investigators were looking at whether the shooter may have possibly been a disgruntled employee or client of the insurer. The FBI announcing on Friday that it was offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction. Meanwhile, video of the gunman fleeing Wednesday's shooting showed him riding a bicycle into Central Park and later taking a taxi to a bus terminal that offers commuter service to New Jersey and Greyhound routes to Philadelphia, Boston, and Washington, D.C. Investigators also on Friday recovering a backpack in Central Park that may have been worn by the gunman during the shooting. That's according to police. This was after a massive sweep to find that backpack in Central Park. To speak more on this, I do want to bring in Kenneth Valentine, who is a retired special agent in charge with the Secret Service and author of Cheating Death. Kenneth, we do appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Live Now from Fox. Absolutely. Yes.
To have to talk about the murder of a CEO, senseless in my mind that this couldn't have been, because I believe it should have been prevented.
And you were saying that it should have been prevented. And why do you think that is? There's been a lot of speculation and concern over the fact that the CEO did not have a security detail surrounding him, especially given the contentious environment surrounding healthcare. But what really stands out to you about this ongoing search, this case?
Yeah, well, CEOs are assets to their company. They're groomed, they're hired, they're vetted. And so they have a price tag on their head, according to the company, as one of the company's main, if not most expensive assets, if you look at them as a one-off. And to think that this asset was walking down the street by himself, completely vulnerable, with no steps taken to limit his exposure, to mitigate some of that vulnerability that this top asset of the company experienced is kind of beyond me. I can't believe that they did not have the foresight to at least try to add some steps in there that would thwart this, that would mitigate that risk in some way. And, I wrote in the book, I talked about protection a lot. It's not strictly a book about executive protection. It's more storytelling and advice. But I do talk about the need for protection and not just from violence. This CEO was exposed to not only specific violence, but just random violence. But it goes beyond that to reputational risk. CEOs, their reputation sinks, so does the stock price of a company. And so when we talk about assets and value to the company, I'm very surprised that there was not some attempt to mitigate the reputational risk. Much like Billy Graham did back in the day. Billy Graham wouldn't go to a hotel room without staff, and maybe if he had a security detail going into that hotel room ahead of time, making sure that not only is it safe, but that it is free from, maybe a photographer with a hooker or something that, where they would try to capture him in a compromised situation. This CEO was walking down the sidewalk. Obviously, it was knowable that he was going to be there. This guy knew about what time he was going to be there, and he had no security, no assets in place to prevent what could have been preventable.
So let's talk about what police know right now. They haven't identified the suspect, and now they're looking for this person of interest that we have been seeing photos of. They have retrieved a backpack. They're trying to, take a look at some other evidence for the DNA. But when it comes to a case as high profile as this, are you surprised by the developments and the speed at which the developments are happening? Did you expect to know more, or are police intentionally being a little reticent about everything?
Good question. I suspect that they do know the identity of the shooter. I don't have any special inside knowledge about that, but with the quality of the photos that have been shown, I suspect that plenty of people have identified this young man already, and the police do know his name. And there might be a variety of reasons for withholding that at this time, maybe to continue his course of cockiness in his adventure here, and maybe cause him to be less careful going forward. So maybe they're withholding that at this time, but I certainly hope that it's just a matter of time before he is located, captured, and then interviewed.
Yes, and given that, and I did want to share with our viewers just one of the latest photos that the NYPD shared with us, and this was taken from a taxi cab. This is another photo from the person of interest. But you were saying, I mean, we're talking about New York City. There are hundreds of surveillance cameras at every angle, and one would think, as they mentioned, that they are getting hundreds of tips, but you might imagine that they would be perhaps a little further along in the investigation, that they are letting on to the public. What are you keeping a very close eye on when it comes to the next steps, when it comes to additional developments?
Yeah. I know that they were searching Central Park Lake there, looking for specifically for the weapon. That is going to help in this investigation. Number one, knowing that he does not still retain that weapon. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have additional weapons, but at least he doesn't have that one. And I think a direction of travel is going to be interesting. There was some speculation that he was bound for Atlanta. I don't know what led them to believe that. Maybe it was the bus that he got onto. If he stayed on that bus, that'll give them good direction. And then some confirmation, additional surveillance footage that shows that they're on the right track, that direction is accurate, that, if we could come up with some proof that he's in Atlanta, then, the noose tightens, the net gets smaller, and it will be within hours or days of closing in and actually catching this guy.
And also, I want to ask you, from your expertise, the police were sharing with the public that they found some shell casings with the words delay, deny, defend on them. And it relates to the title of a book talking about the insurance business and the companies. On that level, with the psyche behind individuals who are behind these acts, does it seem as though this person wants to get caught? I mean, they just left some of these clues there.
To me, it smacks of cockiness. He left those shell casings with markings on them. Certainly, he didn't leave also his fingerprints on those. But then he stuffed the money, Monopoly money, into the backpack, knowing that backpack would certainly be found. So there is an air of cockiness with this young man, and hopefully that also leads to mistakes that he would make along the way. I know they have, they've got the burner phone, they've got a water bottle that they believe he used. They now have the backpack with possible forensic evidence there where they could get DNA or maybe even a fingerprint. We know the taxi that he took. We know that he went into the bus station. So he's leaving a trail. Whether it specifically leads to him quickly or not is up in the air. Certainly all will be useful if we get to the point of having a trial. And so all of that evidence will be logged and used to convict him if we get the chance to prosecute him.
So timeline wise, every case is very unique and it's all dependent on a number of factors. But given the fact that we're now in day 5 and police are still searching for the person of interest in these photos, wanting to talk to him, does that surprise you at all that it's now gone into 5 days, or do you expect that it will go for quite some time?
Well, I would say that I am a little surprised that it's gone this long. I was certainly hoping that day 4 would be the day, and now I'm hopeful that day 5 would be the day. But I don't think it's an indication of a poor investigation or anything like that. I I, I know NYPD. I've worked with them. I've worked with the FBI. They're some of the best, and so I know that they are doing a great job of tracking this guy. It's just a lot harder than you think, and so with with our tendency toward attention deficit disorder, and I know I've been one of those checking my phone constantly to see if the news is out that he's been caught. I think we have an expectation for this to be wrapped up very quickly, but the process of gathering the evidence, analyzing the evidence, that takes time, and so we like our popcorn microwaved, but this is going to be a slow cook, and hopefully he will make a mistake that will quickly lead us to his full identity and his location.
Kenneth, as the police and investigators are continuing to do the legwork on their end, anything in particular that you are keeping a very close eye on?
Well, his propensity to travel is interesting to me. He traveled to New York City. He went days in advance to set this up, to plan how he was going to do this, and so he used possibly trains and buses, taxis. He's used a bicycle. So this guy likes to be on the move. He shows a proclivity for getting around. He's not probably holed down unless he's found that place where he feels like he can be safe. So I would look for him to continue to be on the move, and certainly the surveillance, the prevalence of surveillance cameras and facial recognition is going to help locate him, track him, and bring him to justice.
Well, Kenneth, we appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Live Now from Fox. No doubt we will be checking in with you as we hear the developments from the NYPD, the FBI, and the other agencies involved. Thank you for taking the time.
You bet. Thank you.